Listen, if anybody's living in here, you need to show us. What the fuck is this? No, okay. The door just closed? That was not there. I swear to God. Dude, is that what I think? Are you serious? What the dude?
We arrived at a location, a haunted hotel that was actually made popular by the show Ghost Adventures. And we were kind of poking around after our initial investigation. We got some good activity in the actual hotel itself. And kind of across the way, across this lot that was behind the hotel, we saw a really interesting looking old building. So we decided to walk over and take a look. And turns out it was actually an old abandoned hospital. So we started to poke around a bit, try to find access, and I'm not saying we broke in because we didn't do any damage, but we did help ourselves. We did let ourselves into an opening that we ended up finding. We didn't destroy anything or anything like that. But before we made entry, as we were kind of doing a lap, I was already getting a creepy feeling. I was already feeling like there was something going on there, and I had a lot of nerves that night. And during the hotel investigation, I had almost no nerves. And then we went over to the abandoned hospital and I had a ton. So before we made entry into a window, we actually heard like a metallic sound. It almost sounded like somebody throwing a penny in a frying pan or something like that, but definitely a sound, something loud. And I thought maybe there's like a squatter or like a homeless person or something inside. We called out, heard nothing, kind of discussed like, this is risky, is it worth doing? And it's like, we're here, we got to do it. So we decided to make entry into the abandoned hospital.
Listen, if anybody's living in here, you need to show us. Don't startle us. That won't be good for you. All right?
After we made entry into the window, we made our way into the hallway, but very, very slowly. We were basically inching our way to the hallway, mainly because of that noise we heard, but also just because the overall creepy factor of the place we were in. We called out, we were trying to ensure like nobody was there that was going to mess with us, and we heard nothing else for a while. So we made our way to the hallway, and it was just like a very long, creepy looking dark hallway with many doors. And I already just started to think, and my mind was racing of like, what's in these rooms? What or who are behind these doors? And it made my heart race. And I would say the emotion I was feeling was just legitimate fear, like fear of the unknown and just fear of what was going to happen to us that night inside that place. The place was completely untouched for a very long time. There was a layer of dust on everything. We were guessing it was like 100 years, but we later found documents with patient information on them that actually dated it more about 75 years ago is when it was operational. And it was just dusty, stuffy, spooky. There was like a pressure on you and you felt something was going on. Like, it's not normal to walk into a building and feel that kind of pressure and anxiety. And there was definitely something going on in this place. As we were making our way down the hallway, we decided to venture into one of the rooms, and we found a bunch of old medication bottles and vials, which is just odd to leave something like that there. If it got into the wrong hands or if somebody took too much of it, it could potentially be fatal. It just seemed like a really risky thing to do. And we were poking around looking at all the different medication types, and it was just odd. It was just really shocking to me that remained after all those years of being abandoned, that they just up and left. Didn't even bother taking the inventory of medications they had, which made me wonder, like, what happened here? Why did they leave? Like, what's going on with this place? And as I'm deep in thought and talking to Casey, the door closes behind us. And it's not an auto closing type door. It's a very normal door. We opened it. It stayed open when we opened it. And somehow it closes behind us while we're doing our investigation.
That's the fucking aspirin. No, okay. The door just closed? Yeah. What the bro?
As we're walking through these places doing our investigation, you take like mental snapshots of places, like what do these rooms look like, the feelings they gave you. So like an emotional snapshot, but also where were things, how were things placed. And earlier I recalled that we found a walker, and we found a walker in this room, and it just looked kind of creepy and like oddly placed. Like it was by the bed, but obviously nobody's there. It was just left there, right? When we left the medicine room, we saw the walker in the hallway. I was actually unsure of if it was there originally or not. Casey was damn sure that it wasn't. And after reviewing the footage, it obviously moved. And we weren't hearing any scurrying or like human activity or anything. We never heard anything that indicated that a person would be in there. But the walker is mysteriously moved into the hallway from the bedroom that we originally found it.
Oh my God.
Okay, here.
Yo,
Check out this.
yo, no, come here real quick, right now. Was that there? It was not there. That was not there. I swear to God.
How? At this point, I'm terrified. I want to leave. And not like gently urging Casey to leave. I'm literally telling him, let's get the fuck out of here. Like, we've seen enough. We're technically not even supposed to be in here, right? Let's go. And he convinced me and told me like, no, we have to keep on keeping on. And this was the first season we did together. So we were still kind of getting used to each other in a way. And obviously don't want him to think I'm a wuss, but at the same time, I didn't feel comfortable there. And the fear was building and the anxiety was building. My heart was racing. And I feel like you can only let your heart race for so long before you feel like you're just having a straight up panic attack. So I urged Casey, please let's leave. And he urged me, let's go upstairs. As we're making our way upstairs, every step I took, literally every step I took, I felt like I was doing the exact opposite thing that I should be doing. I was going against my gut and my instincts of like, this is a bad idea. This is not a good place. This is not a nice place. You should leave. But instead, I was forcing my body to do the exact opposite. I was delving deeper into the location when in my mind and in my gut, I wanted to go the other way. So it was like every step I went up and every little bit of elevation rise I had also brought up my anxiety levels. And by the time I got to that top landing where you see like the hospital symbol in the ground, my anxiety and my fear were absolutely peaked. You guys may not have been able to really see it because of the way our cameras were pointing, but every step we took and every little bit closer we got to that top landing, me and Casey were looking at each other kind of like, all right, you go. All right, I'll go a little bit. You go a little bit. I'll go a little bit. And we kind of like leapfrogged each other just because we were both so terrified. And it was like a total team effort. When we got to the top of the stairs, we entered the first doorway we found into a room. In that room was a desk with papers scattered on it, and I thought that was kind of interesting. Obviously, I wanted to read the papers. I'm shaking at this point. I'm so scared. And it's really shocking to see that there's people's information, like the patients of this hospital's information, just sitting out in the open. Like you could see their names and like some interventions, their medications, sets of vital signs. Like that is not normal. That's stuff that even back then was super protected and something that just would never be left out in that way. But it was. So it was left out on this desk. And that just makes me think that someone was almost sitting there like doing some sort of documentation or something like that. And there was some sort of event or something that caused these people to just up and leave, just abruptly abandon their operation and just leave it all where it lay. It's very odd.
Handwritten 1956.
Really?
Are you fucking kidding me? Look at right there.
Oh, yeah.
Thursday, July 19th, 1956. Wow.
We ventured across the hallway into another door that was at the top of the landing, and in the room was like a bed that had like some sort of isolation chamber, like a plastic material, like isolation tent type of thing. And Casey recognized it right away and was like, hey, let's not even come close to that. Like, let's not even consider approaching that. And we didn't get too close. And I'm just thinking like, what type of diseases were being treated here? What type of people were being kept here? And why did they just leave it all in place? When we left that room, that's when we made the most terrifying discovery. There was blood on the floor, clear blood, and we saw footprints. And at first Casey kind of questioned, like, are these footprints? And I pointed out the toes, like, those are their toes. And not only were there footprints, there was like drag marks and shoe prints that were facing the opposite direction. So you can pretty much tell that somebody was grabbed, like either by the collar or the neck or under their arms or something, and just dragged down that hallway. And the way the blood looked and the way it was spread out and everything, somebody was absolutely just fighting for their life. And we saw the aftermath of that. We just happened upon that during an investigation. It's like, we investigate the paranormal, and to see physical evidence like that of a potential crime or a violent scene, it's just not something we encounter very often. So it left us both kind of like, what do we do? Like, do we continue? Like, at this point, I'm telling you, I'm feeling fear, like, to that point that I had not felt before ever, let alone on an investigation. Just feeling like I'm in a evil place. I'm in a dark, evil place, and I've got to get out. That's what I kept thinking. Like, I've got to get out of here. So reluctantly, I agreed to follow the trail into another room, and there we saw big, basically like dried puddles of the blood and a table of some sort, like not a hospital bed, but almost like a machine, like a contraption. It almost looked like it had like a spreading component to it, or like, I don't know what it could have been used for. It was nothing I was familiar with or had ever seen before. And there was blood on it. So it almost looked like someone tried to run or escape or was being attacked and then was just violently dragged into this room and placed on this contraption for, I don't know what, procedure, torture. Like, there's just no way for us to know. But I'm telling you right now, I was going in circles in my head of like, what the fuck happened here?
What the dude? They didn't clean any of this. Like, how? Dude, there's like half of the fucking body trained up underneath this thing.
From there was one more room where the blood trail led. It looked to be like an old operating room. There was like overhead lights and all these like tools and equipment, and like from that era, obviously, but even then, like the medical equipment that was there just stayed there, and that stuff's not cheap. Like those are expensive pieces of gear, and they're just left. Like, what the hell happened here? And I was thinking, was this like a procedure gone wrong? They got shut down? Was this a crime that was committed after the place was closed down? Did somebody help themselves to the inside of this place like we did? Except for when they did, they committed violent action against somebody and left the evidence of it. Like, is anyone even aware of this happening here? Has anyone been in here in the last 10, 20, 30 years? How do I know? So I just couldn't stop thinking about like what could have happened and what the story really was. And at that point, we had covered the entire building. It's not that we didn't want to do additional tests or that we couldn't. It's just like, I think we were both so fixed on like, let's get the fuck out of here, that we couldn't even think straight enough to conduct any tests to detect any type of activity or anything of that nature. I don't know what this place is being used for at this point. Like, is somebody living here, squatting here? Is it a site they use to commit crimes, to hurt people, to keep people captive? Like, I'm just not sure what we're looking at this point. And we weren't really able to tell what was going on, unfortunately. I don't know if it's necessarily possible. It'd be a huge risk, but I would like to go back, even if it's like on the outside of the perimeter of the building, just to try to communicate and detect some sort of activity and get some answers as to what's going on there. So that's something I'm personally really interested in doing. Comment if you guys are interested in seeing that. We came across a room that had a single rocking chair inside of it. It just looked odd. Just in the center of this large room, just a single rocking chair, and like thinking of like who occupied it, who used it, who sits there. And we're just going in circles mentally. And it's just like an absolute sensory overload. Like, I've got the chills. I'm scared. I'm sweating. My heart is racing. My mind is going a million miles an hour. I just came across this blood all over the ground, trying to figure out what the hell is going on. I'm in flight mode. Like, I want to get the fuck out of there. And it was a lot. It was overwhelming. That's how I would describe it. I was absolutely overwhelmed. Before I'd even gone upstairs, I wanted to leave. Once we got up there and found what we found, I mean, I doubled down on that emotion. Like, all I wanted to do was get out of there. I'm starting to think about, like, the torture that occurred on that table / contraption that we found. What the hell is going on in this place? While we were in the OR, we heard another noise in the distance inside. And, like, this is the third, fourth, maybe fifth noise that we've heard that's, like, loud, defined, sounds like somebody's in there with us, but we never found a person. There was a lot of activity going on around us while we were making these discoveries. And, like, we were heightened. Our senses were heightened. I was absolutely peaked. And to hear those noises on top of what we were going through, I knew that this place was extremely active. And I do wish we had the opportunity to conduct more tests, and really to conduct any tests at all to try to communicate with whatever was going on there. It was just too much. Like, we just couldn't stay there any longer. We had reached our limits. We were overflowing, and we had to get the fuck out of there.
That's nuts, bro. What's that? That's nuts, bro. What's that?
Later in that trip, it was either the very next day or the day after that, we were actually going to conduct an investigation in an abandoned home that we had heard about that was full of dolls. We called it the doll house. And very creepy place, very active place. But unfortunately, we didn't technically have permission to be there. Even though it was abandoned, somebody did technically own the home still, apparently. And the police showed up and put us in handcuffs. And we ended up getting charged with trespassing, which we got figured out later. But that night, we were handcuffed. And we told them what we were. We told them we're paranormal investigators. We're here to investigate this place and see what's going on. They didn't really give us a lot of love. They kind of just stuck it to us that night. But they did mention the hospital. Like, it was in that general area. So they mentioned the hospital, having no idea that we had already been inside of it. And the two police officers were going on about stories of the hospital, saying that people call 911 hearing people screaming bloody murder, saying that we're absolutely positive that there's something going on in there. And years ago, so possibly before whatever event left all the evidence we saw, they said that they made entry and found absolutely nothing. But when they got on scene, they heard the screams too. So they got on scene of a 911 call, heard the same screams that the person reporting heard, went in to investigate what was going on. Complete silence. No evidence of any presence of anything whatsoever, when seconds ago they've got the building surrounded, hearing somebody scream bloody murder. They go inside and there's absolutely nothing going on. It's impossible to explain. They couldn't explain it. And those two officers even stated, like, they don't go in there. They're scared to go in there. Their entire police department knows that building and knows what it is, and they know it's haunted. And these are cops. Like, these are guys that are no nonsense. Obviously, they just arrested us. And they're even so terrified of this place that they won't even make entry. So that just tells you the level of spooky and the level of weird going on with this place. When we published the episode on the channel, we did get a little bit of hate. People saying, like, why didn't you stay? You were getting good shit. Like, you should have conducted some more tests, blah, blah, blah. You guys don't understand, like, I had done investigations in the past, but we're talking about a whole nother level of fear here. And at that time, I was barely any more experienced than any of you are with dealing with that fear. Maybe 5% more experience with dealing with that level of scared. And we didn't have the capacity to stay. We just couldn't stay and continue testing just because of the level of fear, plain and simple. And I know, like, our hardcore fans understand, and that's just like the type of shit we go through. And of course I'd love to go back and conduct more tests, but I just kind of wanted to give my perspective and give you guys where my head was at as to like why we didn't stay longer and why more tests weren't conducted. And like, I don't know if it was ever conveyed in the original episode, just how fucking terrified I really was. Like, I was shaking. I swear to God, my heart rate didn't go down for 12 hours. We didn't sleep, literally didn't sleep that night, pulled an all-nighter, and the next night I still could barely sleep because I was just pins and needles. I was on edge. Like, something very evil and fucked up was going on in that location. We really appreciate you guys tuning in and watching kind of like inside of our minds of what was going on for these investigations. I tried to gather questions and like remember questions from the past about them to share with you guys the insight that you're looking for. Like, the whole point of this channel, me and Colton are trying to give you guys what you want, the type of content you like. So the best way to support us, absolutely keep watching the videos. Comment the type of stuff you want to see and share it with your friends. Anyone who's already helping us on Patreon and has joined the Discord, and if you've picked up merch, like, thank you so much. Honestly, that's how we're operating. We're bootstrapping this thing, we're funding it ourselves, and we look forward to funding future trips and just doing more fun shit and giving you guys what you want. So that's going to be it for this one, and we appreciate you guys tuning in. Peace.